All right, guys. I have been doing my best to keep up with everything. Um, I have not put out a video in a few days because I was out. I was up in the mountains, away from Wi-Fi, and usually I need to have my other phone that I'm looking at to make a video, and I couldn't because I didn't have Wi-Fi. So, anyways, I'm back home. I'm gonna try to wrap up all that has been going on in the Safuu Discord over the past 3 days in a 5-minute video. So here it goes. Brian Legend wrote this on Safuu Discord. He said, I humbly advocate for complete dismissal of the current vote in the announcements, which I don't know what the vote was because it was deleted, I guess. Instead, in place should be a short 72-hour vote of sacrifice and migration to Safuu V2 on Vulcan blockchain, rebranded to Revive. It's all in the Safuu Council hands now. So that's what Brian is saying, to just to do a Safuu sacrifice, a sacrifice number 2, and migrate to Vulcan blockchain. And migrate what to Vulcan blockchain? I don't know. I guess Revive, and Revive would be Safuu V2. So then Safuu would go from being a deflationary token to just being a stable token that appreciates and never goes down in value. It's kind of I don't think that's what people want. But let's see what Nathan had to say. Legendary of the Nathan responding to someone, he said, Brian came on, meaning the AMA, fully agreed with us moving away from Safuu to a V2 and offered for us to bring it to Vulcan. Brian offered for us to be a Skyway partner on Vulcan. And then someone asked, so does that mean Safuu will be transferred to a new coin, or we have to sell this and buy the new one? Legendary Other Nathan responded, we would technically be a new token. We would call it something else. Brian agreed we should have a new name due to past FUD. We could do a swap event like a sacrifice can move your tokens in Safuu to the V2. Ultimately, we will have to do a community vote. So a lot of talk about sacrificing. That much I've gotten clear. There's been like a million ideas posted in the Safuu Discord over the past few days, but the one thing I've got is there's a lot of talk about a sacrifice. So let's try and figure this out. Legendary Other Nathan goes on to say, all of the reasons I personally had for wanting to go from Safuu and start fresh with a Revive will be resolved by V2 on Vulcan. Only funny part for me is that I recommended this 3 months ago, LOL. Elliot and I had spoken a little prior about Brian and his 25%, but we had no idea he was going to show up and offer full support. So I have to give Brian mad props for that, showing up in the AMA, and I guess he said he would donate his 25% of the SIF, which, I mean, that's nice of him, but like it's not very much really. I don't know, maybe he means 25% of all the future SIF, like because V1's going to continue being there. Even if we do a sacrifice to V2, V1 is still going to exist because the liquidity is locked for another 12.5 years. So V1 will exist, and if everybody sacrifices, the price of V1 will go down to like 0.008 cents again, like it was at one time, and then people are going to just pump it again, and it's going to burn a whole bunch of supply. So Safuu V1 is going to become like a big deal again, and then V2 will hopefully become a big deal as well. So a lot of potential things are going to be going on in Safuu soon. Right now the price is dipping. Not anything to be too worried about. They say it was 3 big sells in the last 48 hours, but mostly it's Binance. The price of Binance went down significantly, and they say that's what's affecting the price. It was a big deal when Bullet sold, though. I don't know who the other big sellers are, but Bullet sold. And we found out that Tiki Barman is wallet number 3. I would have never in a million years guessed that. Never in a million years. Never. Ever. Why would a sheik from Dubai call himself Tiki Barman? I don't know. Anyways, Legendary of the Nathan goes on to say, it's a win-win for everyone. We get to be on a new state-of-the-art blockchain, and it will also give more volume for the blockchain. The cool part is also V2 won't be locked in 12-month vesting. Anyone who is on Safuu V2 on Vulcan can take advantage of buying and selling on a free market, while all people who sacrifice to Vulcan are locked in 12-month vesting. All right. What else does Nathan have to say? By the way, Nathan is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. Because he had all these ideas months ago. I don't know why the hell the council wasn't listening to him. But that's neither here nor there. Then someone, I guess, was saying, because the price was dipping so hard, they were saying we need to take action. Let me see. Nathan was saying, I totally agree. We need to take action. V2 on Vulcan would be absolutely amazing. It resolves all issues surrounding Safuu. No more renounced contract. No more high tax structure. Saves Brian headache or hassle of having to forever send SIF funds and move fire pit funds. New branding, new name. Start fresh with no FUD. Have everything set up on a multi-sig wallet. Community owned. DAO structure. So that's what they're talking about. Having Safuu V2 be the same thing but on Vulcan, but without the contract being renounced. They can change things as they go, as they see fit, but as in a DAO structure where the community is voting on it. And also V1, if Brian Legend leaves it alone, we can maybe just set all the taxes from V1 to buyback and burn of V1. So I mean, unless they get the silly idea to use the taxes from V1 to help V2, but whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if they did come up with a silly idea like that. So, Tiki Barman, wallet number 3, asked, will there be any incentive to be a current Safuu holder? Because there were lots of people that were selling right now. Elliot said, short answer is yes, yes, and yes. How much incentive? We don't know now. We need to make the incentive reasonable to make it work. Even a 5% incentive is much better with solid built tokenomics that are attractive to other investors than a 300% incentive with tokenomics that don't make sense for others to invest. So yes, we are going to reward all Safuu holders in some way, but that way will not and should not undermine the attractiveness of the investment to other new money holders to buy into. So it's a balance of not giving too much rewards while giving some rewards and making the tokenomics attractive to new investors. You guys get that? So they want to reward people who are holding Safuu through all of this, through all these sells, but he also wants to reward them in a way that is, sustainable for whatever transition they're going towards, whether it's Revive or Safuu V2 or Revive as Safuu V2. All right. All right, hold on. Tiki Barman said, I think going from Safuu to a Vulcan-based V2 directly without Revive intermediary, and I don't know what else he said, because they were talking at one point, this has been one of the many options and discussions that has been going on, is that to get to Safuu V2, we could first sacrifice Safuu V1 for Revive. Revive, with its tokenomics, is a constantly appreciating stablecoin. So what that would do is it would stabilize the price, because right now the price is all over the place in Safuu. It's going down mostly. Mostly it's going down. But if we sacrifice to Revive, it would slowly start going in the other direction, based on volume. And that would give the council time and an accurate representation of the funds that they would have to work with for V2 if they did a sacrifice from Revive to Safuu V2. So it would be a sacrifice to Revive and then another sacrifice to V2 if they used Revive as the intermediary, if Revive was not the end-all be-all. But they're also talking about turning Safuu V1 into Revive, which would be Safuu V2. I'm sure you got that. I'm sure you understand exactly what I just said. So Elliot responded to Tiki Barman's question. There's no way to reward current holders other than creating the illusion of a reward with free tokens that are not backed by anything and hold no intrinsic value. We could say, okay, for one Safuu, you get 10 coin X in return and a bonus on top. But in order for all this to have any value proposition at all, we need to bootstrap more external funds. Basically means for new investors to want to invest into this, knowing all the additional bonuses are not imaginary tokens and have hard value backing them, and liquidity backing them. Otherwise, we are creating dilution for new holders, and they won't invest. Otherwise, if we are going to give people any bonuses at all, that would give them an unfair advantage over others that want to come in on launch and invest money. Those people will look at that unfair advantage and not invest because they would be dumped on. In order to create solid tokenomics to begin with, we must know the value we are holding in real assets. Currently unknown how much liquidity we can extract through a sacrifice, meaning how much liquidity they could get out of Safuu's liquidity through a sacrifice, since that liquidity is locked. But if everybody sold their tokens, like in a sacrifice type event, it could get a lot of the liquidity out, potentially like half of it. I don't know, maybe not that much, but maybe a lot. Then we can sort of look at that and say, okay, we hold X amount of USD and we had that many tokens participate in the sacrifice and the price per one token is X amount of dollar value. Only then can we start looking into possible bonuses and incentives we can give those participants and make it attractive for other investors to invest day one. If we are going to print out play money bonuses, we will have to create a vesting schedule and lock people in to reduce sell pressure of these bonuses. Tokenomics is the cornerstone of a token, and they have to be 100% solid and really well thought out in order to make things work as you expect them to work, and for other investors to want to invest into this token, taking into account the long-term sustainability of the rewards you are giving out through a preferential swap. A solid plan for a V2 on the Vulcan chain would be create initial test tokenomics for the V2 token. Build the complete smart contract to test the whole concept best on those tokenomics. Launch it on a testnet and run various simulations of different scenarios that can take place based on those tokenomics. Adapt initial tokenomics based on things that worked and that didn't during the initial SC tests. Realize the intrinsic value we were able to extract through a sacrifice event by doing the swap that will be used for liquidity. Adapt the tested tokenomics to better suit the real value we are able to extract through a sacrifice event or a swap. Test the final tokenomics and make them appealing for others to invest day one from launch. Create real value proposition. It's not done. Possibly bootstrap additional liquidity through a pre-sale before we launch. This should be possible only if our tokenomics concept is solid. Test the smart contract on the Vol blockchain and fix any issues if there are any. Only then launch. Only then launch. Only then launch. After those 8 steps, only after those 8 steps are followed to a T, do you do anything. You cannot just do it spur of the moment, just throwing shit at the wall. You got to follow these 8 steps. P.S. I cannot stress enough the absolute need for an educated approach towards researching and modeling the tokenomics that will work and will be attractive to the investors if we are creating a token. This is not a 1-week process and requires a lot of thought to be put in order to get transaction with outside investors. There also needs to be a model, the relation to Vol. If the V2 is paired against Volcoin, the rebases and liquidity pool, it's a very important thing to model and account for in the tokenomics to make it work. Basically, the price of the tokens will also be set in Volcoins that you can then redeem for USDT at current spot price. Not only that, but it also rebases in LP. Do you get that? That all those things have to happen for anything to work in crypto. You can't just fucking throw shit at the wall. You can't just make something up and put it out there and see what happens. That never works. That has never once worked. That never has anybody just created a token just to see what happened. And it worked. Never. Except for Doge and Sheeb and, I don't know, any other token you can think of. Literally every fucking token in crypto. Anyways, that's the end of my rant. All right. Tiki Barman, who's wallet number 3, by the way. I think going from Safuu to a Vulcan-based V2 directly without Revive intermediary makes much more sense. That would allow team to incentivize and reward current Safuu holders. We can then do a sacrifice at Vulcan launch, and it would allow for current Safuu price appreciation and also reward current holders much more than a stablecoin Revive swap, which you said is very limited in incentivizing current holders. Thoughts? I think it's he goes on to say, I think it's very important to announce whatever incentives are to holding or buying current Safuu, or we will keep bleeding on price, and that will affect a new token also with less money going in. Even if devs are working on V2, council still has to stop bleeding of current coin. We need an announcement going over why investors need to hold current Safuu or add to it ASAP. So he seems to be a little bit against the Revive token being like an intermediate step to Safuu V2, which kind of makes it seem like he's just against Revive, period. Like this token that we have spent, like $25,000 on, he seems to just want to just scrap it. I could be mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tiki Barman, if you watch this, or anybody who was just listening. But it seems like he just wants to scrap Revive and just go straight to Safuu V2, and Revive is just, money that could have been spent otherwise. I'm actually to the final thread of all my freaking screenshots, surprisingly. All right. So, Elliot is responding to someone. I don't remember I don't see what the person asked, but he said the quickest delivery is Revive. There are no set tokenomics that have been carefully gone through and tested through hard hat simulations for a swap to V2. I wonder if Brian Legend's offer is valid, even if we do swap to Revive, because in order for us to swap for a V2 with no decent tokenomics would be a leap of faith. It would be smart to have a middle step if we need to swap ASAP and then build the tokenomics. And people are confident these tokenomics can decide to invest. But if the end game is a swap that makes no sense to put the funds in to extract them later, doesn't it only give more exit liquidity for those that plan to sell anyway? There really were only 3 major sales in the last 48 hours, all the price action. All the price action now of Safuu price dropping is because BNB took a hit. So Legendary Other Nathan says, we would have been able to launch Revive very quickly. Everything is almost ready to go. This new change is now what is slowing things down at this point. We are talking about a huge possibility of changing entire direction. Yanni Boy, he jumped into the discussion. He said, will Safuu V2 be deflationary? And Elliot said, yes, deflation is the cornerstone of V2. Yanni said, so first of all, no rebases, that we can agree. Then we need burning, so buy back and burn. Low taxes, right? Use Flex and Power Pool to buy back and burn. That's if V2 is on Vulcan. Or if we bought Vulcan and just used the Flex and Power Pool to buy back and burn, which is an idea that was floated a long time ago by Nathan and then by Lucky, and then I put it in the community proposals, and somebody else had put it in the community proposals as well before me. But it's an idea that's been floating around a long time. Then someone was talking about what the tax structure would be for Safuu V2, and Elliot said probably no buy tax and then an 8% sell tax, which would be 3% buyback and burn, 2% liquidity pool, 3% treasury. All right, so then Elliot wrote, currently there's 3 options on the table. Option 1, Brian Legend's full support on V2 on Vulcan. Terms, we have to pass over all the extracted liquidity from the sacrifice to Uxie Labs, as well as $150,000 from council funds until mainnet launch. That would be a hell of a lot of money. That would be like over $1 million, I think. At mainnet launch of Vol, we get for all the collected and delegated funds in Vol coins as liquidity for V2 at $9 plus 25% allocation as Skyway partner. So we would pretty much be giving everything to Brian Legend. And that's the option that Brian Legend puts his full support behind. Option 2, keep things as is. Launch Revive as side utility for Safuu, continue with lottery DApp development. Option 3, Revive stablecoin on BSC swap. So that I think he's talking about, let me read it. We hold a fair value Safuu swap event to Revive. Average token price per Safuu is determined in USDT. All participants get fair value Revive allocation plus $100,000 council injection, or use that $100,000 to buy Vol on mainnet launch and feed revenue back into Revive, raising the floor price. Then we know how much real value we hold and can build solid tokenomics for V2. SIF may be subject to 25% founders donation. There are positives and negatives in any option on the table. It's just a brief explanation of the options proposed. I will need to draft a more detailed vote on this community to decide. Okay. I'm going to go back over those options real quick. But first, let me see if there's reverse rebase. Talking about that. At one point, they were talking about reverse rebasing. All right. So, legendary, other than Nathan said, we have multiple options. Once we go to revive, we then have a token that can't go down in value. It gives us time to then either build V2 for Vulcan or invest a large bag in Vulcan. Invest a large bag in Vulcan. I don't understand that. So would everybody just be part of a big Vulcan bag? Like, I don't get that. So Brian Legend's full support is behind us just giving him absolutely every penny that's in Safuu. And then we have no money to develop a token. We just give all the money to him. Okay. That's option 1. Option 2 is keep things as is, launch revive as side utility for Safuu, continue with lottery dApp development. Option 3, revive stablecoin swap. So option 3 is what Nathan was talking about, where revive is the intermediary between Safuu V1 and Safuu V2. So everybody would swap to revive, and then the council would have time, because they would have stable funds in revive. They would know pretty much how much money they would have, because revive only appreciates in value because it's backed by USDT, and because of the tokenomics and the tax structure, it only appreciates in value. And then we would do a second sacrifice. We would sacrifice revive for Safuu V2 once they had Safuu V2 developed. But Safuu V2, I mean, how does option 1 even work? We just give all our money to Brian Legend, and I don't even understand what the hell that would do. Because what do you have then? Do you migrate like Safuu V1 to Vulcan? I don't. There's so much talk going on in Discord. It's wonderful because the Safuu Discord was really struggling for a while there, but let me tell you, it's not struggling now. There's a lot of talk going on. So Nathan had told me something amazing in a DM, but he told me not to share it with anybody until he got like some until he got it confirmed with Elliot, or he was going to tell me when I could talk about it. So I won't talk about it. But all the things that they're talking about is not his idea. So I don't know why the hell they didn't go with his idea, because his idea was pretty cool. It was new. It was something exciting. It would have gotten people excited, because I've been studying the Safuu community for a long time. I think I know what we want, all right? Because I'm part of the community. I think I know what we want. And Nathan's idea was pretty freaking cool. And Yanni knows what we want too. He says just keep it simple. Just have a low tax used for buyback and burn. It's not rocket science. Like all those freaking 37 steps that Elliot seems to believe that a token needs to go through before it can be created. I don't know what world he's living in, to be honest with you. Anyways, he's being very nice though, so I shouldn't criticize him too harsh. So anyways, it seems like revive may be the intermediary. So we'll sacrifice everything for revive, and then we'll sacrifice revive for V2. Simple. Okay guys, if you want to follow me on Twitter, where I post 7 million screenshots per hour, I'm at Oliver78900, and if you could like, comment, subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And I am gonna go back to doing videos every day. All right, thanks for watching.